was thinking about Jocelyn Hernandez because on my timeline I came across like this greatest love and hip hop moments, and they were like the CBJ, Jocelyn Hernandez, and the Mimi, their best moments, and it was like a countdown of all their best moments. And I sat there and I watched it for the nostalgia of it. I was like, I remember when I watched all this, and I remember like when I watched it, giggling and being like, ah, so entertaining. And as I was watching back the clips this time, I didn't laugh. It was no longer funny. As you guys know, with the exception of summertime with Love Island, I do not watch reality TV. Love Island is the only reality TV that I watch. And the reason why is I used to watch when I was younger and I stopped watching it because, that frontal lobe develops and all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, this is so exploitative. Like, this is insane that they're doing this to people for, I'm saying as a form of entertainment. Like, this is crazy. And I just couldn't stomach it. I couldn't. When they aired on television, Love and Hip Hop Atlanta, I used to watch that show faithfully, right? Because this couple was undeniably reality TV gold, right? At the time when I was watching it, though, I was very young. I may have been, I don't want to age myself, but I wasn't saying, I was maybe like 19 probably, I think. I'm guessing. I may have been even younger than that. Watching it back then, it was just like a love triangle, like a guy going between two girls. Like, we've heard that a million one times. He's a cheater, whatever, a big deal. Watching back those clips right now and then looking at the facts of the situation, Stevie J is such a sinister little fuck. For those of you guys who do not know, Stevie J is a very famous music producer who used to work with Bad Boy, and he's produced records for Mariah Carey, for Biggie, for Jay-Z, for Eve. Jocelyn was a stripper at the time when they met. I think they met at the strip club. And they got involved with each other, and that's how they joined onto the show, right? Like, he gets cast on the show and he brings her into the show. When they come onto the show in 2012, I think it was, Jocelyn is 24 years old on the show, and CBJ at the time is 40. Just attempting to create an image for you and give you an understanding of the huge power dynamics that were going on between them before they even started down their like insane road, right? Like, off the rip, there's already a huge power dynamic. She is essentially poor, right? Like, she's a stripper, she has something, and she wants to break into the music industry. He has money, he has connections, he can get her a job outside the strip club. He got to promise her that she never has to strip again, because he's going to make her a star. He's going to give her a career like the one that essentially he gave Eve. Tells her this dream, and he gives her this job on this TV show, and she's essentially like, oh, I finally made it in life. Obviously, when the show kicks off, it turns out that he is still very much involved with his baby mother, Mimi Foss, right? And that's what the entire plot line is about him going back and forth between these two women. As the show progresses, we watch them go back and forth for years, right? Kind of like getting together, then getting into these huge fights, screaming at each other, breaking up. We watch them get physical with each other. Insert some clips to show you some examples of some of the stuff that they would say when they would argue.
Give it to myself because I worked. And you know what? It doesn't even matter, because every time you get mad at me, you take my computers, you take everything that I have, you take my Chanel purse, you hide my.
Are you serious, Ma?
Siri, I'm lying.
Yes.
You don't have my to say.
I don't even lock my safe.
You know what?
It's
You're a
open.
nasty person.
Several cast members from the show have come out and been like, yeah, we weren't getting paid that much for this show. Like, you being on the show was mostly basically just about publicity, right? So, like, there's no way that Jocelyn was living off of what she was getting paid off the show. It couldn't have possibly been as much as she was making at the strip club. So when she leaves the strip club to kind of join him on this show and follow him, we have to assume that he's funding her lifestyle at this point. Her being in tears and bringing that up, being like, every single time we get into an argument, you start taking my shit away. You start hiding my stuff from me. We are talking about a man who sold a girl dreams, and then the minute that she behaved in a way that he did not approve of, he became withholding and took things back from her. That is abusive.
Every time something don't go your way, the first thing you say is, I'm going to send you back to the strip club. You would never send me back to the strip club because I'm not going back. And
I think what we were watching in real time was a girl literally crying for help, right? Because she can't leave him. She has no money. She has nowhere to go. And he understands that. And that is how he is holding her hostage. This is one of the reasons why she stayed in this kind of love triangle for as long as she did. She had nothing else going for herself. A few years later, we find out that Jocelyn Hernandez is struggling with a drug addiction, something that was kind of obvious to fans if you were watching the show, and the way that her and CBJ showed up in that reunion, right? Where everyone's like, yeah, they're not behaving normally. Like, they're clearly on something. And she kind of admits to that a few years ago and then like got sober. I think it is fair to assume that CBJ introduced her to those drugs and got her addicted to them. An unemployed drug addict is very easy to control, is very easy to manipulate. My point in bringing all this up is that I do kind of have a soft spot for Jocelyn. Like, I think she's a deeply flawed human being. I think that sometimes in certain situations, like, she very much is the villain. But I can't help but to feel for her for, like, now that I'm older. Again, now that I'm older than the age that she was when she was on the show. I was younger than her when I was first watching it. But now that I am older than she was when she was on the show, I now understand just how young she was. And being like, wow, that's actually an insane situation to put someone that young in, right? Like, yes, she's making poor choices. Yes, she's being done behind him. But like, look how young she is. Why would I expect her to know better? The real cause of concern here and like the shift of blame has to be put on like Mona Scott Young, right? Who again was a woman of a certain age and could have seen the dynamic between them and should have known that it was abusive and should have been like, hey, we should help this young girl out, and should have told her, hey, it's okay. If you and him break up, you can leave him if you want to. We'll make sure that you have a job. We'll make sure that you stay employed. You don't have to worry about it. And instead, all they did was keep the cameras rolling because it made for good television, even if it came at the expense of her well-being. I can't help but to be introspective and be like, how come when I was an audience member a decade ago or whenever ago it was, right? And I was watching this and I was so entertained, I was so giggled by it, and I would be so excited on Monday night to watch them and their mess, right? And how come I didn't see this for what it was back then, right? Like, how come I didn't see her pain? How come I didn't see her crying? And I didn't feel something for her, and I didn't be like, hey, this is kind of fucked up. How come that I wasn't having that reaction? There's like a couple answers to it. A small part of it to me is the fact that everyone always viewed Jocelyn as a joke. And part of the reason why people viewed her as a joke, I mean, obviously she was funny, but it was also because of her accent, right? And it was because her English was terrible and her accent was kind of crazy. And like Americans specifically have like a very, I don't particularly want to call it xenophobic as much as it is like this elitism, right? Where if someone's English isn't 100% perfect, then you immediately assume that they're stupid, right? If someone is mispronouncing something, then it's because they are less intelligent than you are, and that's what the problem was. And because they are less intelligent than you, they are deserving of no respect. Even in the previous clip that I just showed you of her crying and being like, you think I'm going to go back to strip club? I'm never going back, right? That should have been alarming to us. That should have been alarming to us that he was threatening her like that, right? Like we all, and instead the takeaway from it was everyone making fun of the way that she was saying his name and the way that she looked when she was crying and kind of the way that she was mispronouncing things. Because of her accent, you didn't view her as smart, and because you didn't view her as smart, she was deserving of less. The second part of it and the bigger part of it, I hate to blame everything that's wrong in the world on Tyler Perry, but it's hard not to. Like, I think everything swings back to being Tyler Perry's fault. But I think that Tyler Perry has played a huge part in instilling this idea that Black women specifically suffering is entertainment. It is meant to be entertainment. Makes for good television. It's worth it because, in the end, she's a good woman. So in the end, she'll get hers, but she does need to suffer. And we should all feel entertained for it. It's entertaining. It's fun to watch. Perry has built an entire legacy of dehumanizing Black women and making it out their pain is for people's entertainment, that you're supposed to sell tickets for, that everyone should gather to ooh and ah when a Black woman is suffering. Again, like, it's ignorant to pretend like media and the media that we watch and we consume doesn't create biases in us, because it does, and it affects our everyday life. We'll see a Black woman come up here and tell a sad story about something that happened with her man, her husband, her baby father, whoever left her, and then people in the comments should be like, wow, this is a Tyler Perry script. Jocelyn is a great example of the way that people dehumanize Black women and also have a genuine belief that the suffering of Black women is necessary for the world to go round, especially if it's happening at the hands of a Black man. It is justified. It is just the way the world works. It's just the way that things are. Black women must suffer. I could make an argument. I'm not going to ruffle your feathers, but I can make an argument. That's the reason why so many of you guys are mad at that girl from the season of Love Island, because she said, no, actually, I won't suffer. No, thank you. And that's what pisses a lot of you off. But I'm not going to start.